You're tuned into Taiwan Grooves. Let's explore the local music scene. Good afternoon and welcome to Taiwan Grooves. For today's episode and the next one that will follow up next week, we will pick the brains of two very talented gentlemen from the band called the Church of Loops. The duo's music relies on heavy improvising with loop stations, beatboxing, vocal harmonies, MIDI controllers, and various instruments. And they offer each audience a unique invitation to enter into the vibe of the music with them. I've seen them perform twice now, and I must admit it was lots of fun. I'm very happy to finally have them over. So please put your hands together for Brian and John from the Church of Loops. Alright guys, welcome. We have been planning this interview for over a year now.
Yeah, it's true, right?
Let's start with, who do we have the pleasure to be interviewing today?
I'm John from the Church of Loops.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm Brian, also from the Church of Loops.
Awesome. Alright, so I have seen your performance at the, I believe it was Veggie Fest.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which one, Ramble or Veggie Fest.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was great. Everything was awesome. And then we met. We were like, yeah, let's do an interview. And yeah, it kind of got lost on the way. You know, people were busy. You guys were drilling the EP that is coming out very soon, which is great. And then we finally made it happen. So thank you guys for coming all the way.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us. Yeah.
I'm very happy to learn about your band and your project.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, John and Brian, I have a lot of curiosity questions, and one of them would be, how did the name come to exist? Church of Loops.
Church of Loops. Should I tell him this one?
You can take it, Brian, yeah.
So we were jamming at my house, and I think it was this our first, Church of Loops jam?
I think it was,
I think it was, right? Because we had been trying pretty hard to make a band thing happen, and it wasn't really working. Oh, let's play this cover. Let's try to rehearse this. And one day, John came over to my house. He brought the looper, plugged in a mic and a guitar, and just said, let's just forget expectations and let's just jam and see what happens. One of the first songs that we ended up coming up with, that we ended up keeping, was we're now calling it Lost and Found. You'll hear it on the EP. There's kind of a break in the middle, and we had built up. There was organs, there was a choir, because John will loop. He'll just loop over and over like a whole chorus of just John, right? Mm-hmm. And we started clapping, and so John grabs the mic and he goes, "Amen, hallelujah, welcome to our church. It is the Church of Love, and it is the Church of Loops." And I just looked at him and I was like, that's our name.
Wow, so spontaneous.
Yeah, it was a joke originally.
Yeah.
That's great, because I heard coming up with a good name sometimes takes loads of time.
Oh, yeah.
You have this, list with scratches of bad names that didn't make it.
Oh, we have a list.
That's what we did. And then we just went, let's just use that one. I think that's
I guess you're the spontaneous creativity where you don't need to plan stuff. It just happens, and that's when the best result comes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's when the magic happens.
Yeah, having a band and getting people together is can be sometimes very troubling.
Yeah.
So now you're a two-man band.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
It's a bit easier, isn't it? When there's only two of us to arrange rehearsals and stuff, It is. Yeah. The more band members, the harder it gets, doesn't it?
Yep.
All right, and could you tell me what instruments? So we got the looper, and what else are you responsible on to make your sound beautiful?
I have beatboxing and the bass guitar.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm basically the rhythm section, and then Brian.
I do the high stuff, so I do the keys and the guitars.
Mm-hmm. And you both sing.
We both sing, yeah.
Very good.
And some rapping from Brian as well.
Oh,
so
John
nice.
raps as well. So John's the guy who will be like, "Oh, I'm not gonna rap. I'm not gonna do a verse," and then he'll do a verse, and it'll be the best verse on the jam.
So you just have to find the best beat, and he will, just a little twitches, and then he comes on it. Very cool. This is how impressive if you have multi talents. Because if you just play guitar, if you're just singer, right, you have your role very strictly fixed. You're just doing that. But for you, it's like, yeah, I do this, and that, and the rest is for the other guy.
Yeah, and we maybe switch as well sometimes, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian will play some bass, maybe I'll do some guitar.
Cool.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of like little miscellaneous instruments sitting around. Like his kids, there might be some little like kids like piano or something, or if we have like a glockenspiel or a xylophone or a little the little stylophone that you got me, yeah. And we'll just kind of either one of us might pick up one of those and just experiment and see what happens.
Yeah, the unlimited sounds, whatever you can find in the room or around, you can make it.
Yeah, or even just like slap ourselves in the head.
I'm excited for this EP very much.
Cool.
This is the first time we have somebody who has done beatboxing, who has been doing beatboxing.
Okay.
I don't think we ever. It's very cool.
One. Yeah, sitting in front of a mic, I'm very tempted.
I feel like you should demonstrate a little bit. This is.
I didn't want to directly ask you to, but could we get a quick sample of?
We could. I mean, before I do it, I want to say I don't really kind of class myself as a beatboxer. You know, it was more just to give myself something to do. You know, I could play live by myself because if I can beatbox, I've got the drums, everything else I can kind of sing. So for me, it was kind of more of a means to an end to learn beatbox. But yeah, I'll give us a little bit of a beat or some sounds.
Up to you.
All of the above.
Okay. There we go. That's about
So
it.
cool.
I almost started putting out a bass line.
If I gave you 5 more minutes, you would have a song ready.
Yeah, we could.
How does the person come to beat? Wait, so you played drums before, or did you beatbox before?
Yeah, I was a drummer.
Chicken egg thing?
Yeah, I was a drummer when I used to play in a metal band called Half a Dog. from the joke, what's got 2 legs and bleeds? So that was how I started when I was maybe 14 or something.
I thought it was from the joke, what's worse than finding a dog in your apple?
Half a dog.
Nice.
So drums. It was drums first, and
Drums
then
first. Then you just didn't want to carry all the thing around, so you just learned to do it with your mouth.
Yeah, I think then I was playing kind of my own acoustic stuff and doing more folky stuff, a bit like Brian does. And then I saw lots of beatbox looping videos. I was like, I need one of those, and I need to learn how to beatbox. So yeah, that was where it began.
That's funny. It's quite similar actually to me. When I was about 19 and I left home for the first time, I was a piano player. That was when I was younger, that was what I loved. I played piano every day. And I was like, well, I can't really carry a piano around with me. So I learned the guitar as a way to be able to write songs and play things just on the road and whatever. So it's kind of cool, the portability. Right?
Now we have beatbox and a small MIDI controller, right?
Yeah.
Which is easier than carrying drums and a piano.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm thinking, it's very compact. If a looper is this size, you know, you can carry it in a backpack, let's say, a couple of cables, beatbox, MIDI key with 1 octave, and that's
you see about 1.5 octave, I guess. Yeah, just very small.
And you're set.
Yeah.
So nice. Have you ever thought about expanding the team? Just get because I'm pretty sure by now you can get, as you said, pretty much any sound. You can make DAW, like any trumpets, sax, anything. But have you ever thought of hey, how about we should collaborate with this person, just get him in on the wind section or something?
Yeah, we actually do collaborate pretty frequently. Not so much for the recordings, but for live shows. Like we've had Max with us several times playing keys and playing violin. And we've had our friend Justine with us to sing. We've had quite a few people just kind of come in and sit in as guests. But I don't know, for me, as much as I love those guys and I love the music that they do, for me, I think I don't want to add. I don't know if you feel the same way. I don't want to add to the band. You know, it's almost like when it comes to the writing and when it comes to the direction, keeping it small, keeping it just the two of us. It really, I think, makes things easier and simpler.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah. We have something on a record and we go, yeah, I don't really like those hi-hats there. And we go, okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Let's change it. Yeah. But if there's 4 people, it becomes more difficult, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree. That's why I asked, because I had a band who had 7 members.
Ooh, that's hard.
And I was asking, like, how do you come to a decision? Like,
Yeah.
everybody's got to be non-conflicting, 100% accepting person. Otherwise, can't imagine. So, yeah, this makes perfect sense. You have beautiful recordings, live version, bam, whip out Max out of there. And then just adds a lot of color to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, when I was in Chinese school, I had a teacher, Mr. Zhang, and we watched a movie called Raise the Red Lantern. Have you ever seen that? It's a classic Chinese movie about concubines. When you would raise the red lantern over one concubine, and that's the one that the ruler or whoever would visit that night. And there was a lot of infighting and whatever. And so we finished the movie, and I was chatting with my teacher, and he looked at me and he said, "I tell you something. You have more wives, you have more problems."
And it's the same as band
same with
names.
a band, yeah.
That's what he meant, yeah.
I like that. That must be where red lights come from, in the red light district.
Yeah.
I like the idea of that. You're just sitting there and a red light appears over your head.
But if you're a king or like the ruler of a district or something, you have your personal red light district.
Oh yeah, the district. Yeah. Wow.
Meanwhile, I'm here stuck with the on the air,
There
on
we
the
go.
red light. Okay, more questions coming your way. When you started out, I mean, I know how your music sounds, but before we put in some samples for the listeners, if they were to ask you, what kind of music do you create? Is it possible to put it in a label? Anything that you would describe it with?
I always say we're electro folk. But I'm not really sure if that works because, I have kind of the electronic stuff from my beats, which is kind of housey, and then folk guitar from Brian. So that's probably what I would say. Brian, how about you?
Yeah, I like folktronica. Yeah,
Okay.
But it isn't really limited to that either because we do a lot of poppy stuff as well,
Yeah.
right? So it's genre-wise, it's very genre bending, It's very hard to place it.
I think this is the new age concept. Just it's how it works, You have foreigners living in Taiwan. You have folk crossing with funk. It's where we live. It's how it is. It's not like back in the 70s where strictly 12 songs are funk and that's it.
Right.
Now you have a little R&B here, a little bluesy track here, a little this there.
Right.
And I think that's how my iPod playlist works. I don't like to listen to the same genre for an hour. But if a rap song comes along, followed with R&B, followed with, quicker metal song, it's wonderful.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah, I do as well.
When you create music, do you have any specific band influences or singers, anything that shapes the way you create things? Who's the poster, the idol on your bedroom door?
I think there are too many. I think for me, it starts probably with the Beatles. Maybe that's where the catchy hooks from our songs come from, In my household, the Beatles are a big one. But then I got into electronic music when I was maybe 18 or something. So also that kind of stuff. And the beatbox loopers influenced me as well. People like Saro, if anyone's not heard him, go and check him out. So yeah, for me, it's kind of a weird combo of, classic pop, 60s, 70s pop with electronic music.
Yeah. It's interesting for me as well. I grew up with my parents listening to a lot of 70s music in the house. Like we always had music on in the house. And Paul Simon, Simon and Garfunkel, that's been with me as long as I can remember. So I'd say Paul Simon is probably my biggest musical influence, songwriting influence, I got really into Billy Joel, which, it's kind of like, Billy Joel himself says he was mainly influenced by the Beatles, right? So it's sort of like Beatles through a filter for me. And I got really into kind of the folky stuff, James Taylor and all that as well. And I think, you put all that together. And then, of course, Michael Jackson,
I was going to say we have a lot of 80s. We were just like, this sounds 80s. Let's keep doing it.
Yeah.
Right? That's what we want, right? We want it to sound more 80s, don't we, really?
I think so, yeah. That's, if somebody asked us, if somebody put a gun to our head and said, I want you to choose a genre, we'd say, okay, 80s. That's what we want to be. We want to be an 80s band.
No, that's good. I had a couple of bands, artists here, and I feel like people do that. They take some kind of, city pop, whatever, 80s sounds, synths, something that really was back in the day. They bring it, they remaster it, and add some new elements of house or anything. It works very well.
Yeah.
Could you take us through your creative process? So you could pick a song if you want and just kind of take me through, like, all right, you jam it out, you lay a beat, there's some guitar riff, you have some lyrics drafted, and you try to make it work.
Thanks, Phil. Phil just did it for us.
Next question.
Yeah, everything you said apart from the lyrics, we start with no lyrics, and then we just, sometimes we even just sing like sounds, don't we?
Yeah.
We might just be like, yeah, they go there, you know, and sing just that, and then we'll go back to it, and then what could this sound like? You know, a lot of songwriters do that actually, like pop songwriters and stuff. Yeah, so that's probably the difference, just the vocal bit that we might go back to.
Yeah. And as far as like the process itself, we usually start with the beat, right? John usually starts by putting in a beatbox beat. When we jam, it's usually beatboxing. Although we've been using that drum machine, we got a drum machine. We've been using it recently, which is cool. But John will lay down a beat of some sort, and then one of us, either John will put down a bass line, or I'll put down a guitar line, or just some simple chords. And we don't really plan that either. We talked about having like an inventory of chord progressions that we could pull out, but we're both really ADD, so like it's basically just whatever we feel like doing at the moment. And then, you know, oftentimes the other guy will just kind of pick up on what key we're in and whatever, but sometimes we'll just kind of get away from the mics and whisper to them, okay, where are we at? Are we in G? Are you in A? You know?
Yeah.
And then it just kind of builds, and it's not strictly, you know, one way or the other, but usually I'll do a verse and John comes up with the hook. Usually there's been songs that are totally opposite of that. Keep Dreaming is a good example. But normally I'll rap or sing a verse, and then something I said will inspire John, and he'll come up with this like amazing hook, and then we'll just keep on with the hook, and we'll layer it, and then we'll jam it as long as we want, and then we'll go back to it.
It's about 13 minutes usually, isn't it? Or maybe half an hour.
Sometimes. Yeah.
And then you have to pick up the best 4 minutes out of it, or
You
5
do.
to make a song.
Yeah.
And that's usually pretty easy, because usually all we get in those 13 minutes is we'll get like a verse and a chorus and maybe a solo. And then if we want to add a bridge, or if we want to add a few more verses, we got to go back to it later and think about those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an interesting way to write, actually, isn't it? We start with a jam, and then we go back and fix it and edit it and stuff.
Yeah, that's perfect.
We religiously, pun intended, record everything. So, you know, I'm hoping one of these days when we have like, you know, a decent amount of fans who are actually kind of like listening to our music and waiting for it, we could release some of those original jams. You know, and people are going to be familiar with the album version, and then we'll go back and we'll release those 20-minute long jams, and they'll be like, oh, I see where that song came from. And
yeah, that would be
kind
that
of
would
fun.
be very nice.
Yeah.
Just like 15 minutes in, and suddenly the song starts. Like, wow.
Be good to fall to sleep to, maybe.
Yeah, hypnosis.
No, that's great. I keep asking this question because different bands might have different approaches. You know, some people just get an inspiration from, I don't know, nature or somewhere, and goes back, writes the lyrics, then kind of have some melody with it to put it in. Other people just jam it out, spontaneous creativity. Some people get the inspiration riding a scooter and then just humming a melody, quickly pull just by the side of the road, record what they had so it doesn't escape. So it's always nice to hear different, you know, there's not a right way, it's just whatever works. Now, how long have you been doing this for? Church
Since
of
2021?
Yeah.
2021.
Yep, I think it was November 2021 when we had that legendary first jam. But we had been doing some music together for a while before that, right?
Yeah, we had a band called the Sleeping Buddhas, didn't we? Also religious named band.
Yeah.
We played a few covers. And
You felt bad for the dog, so you just went religious way after.
yeah.
Good. All right, now, I really enjoy your live performance, I'll be honest. Anything that went on in the temple stage was just amazing, like honestly.
Yeah.
Acoustics, everything, the whole atmosphere was great. And yeah, of course, you're full of energy. That's what matters. You have fun doing it, then the people will have to follow. That's just how it works.
Yeah.
So my question for this would be, do you have any specific way to approach live performance? Do you have anything that you really want to take off? Any ritual that you try to meet? Any expectation that you set for yourself when doing live?
Not make any mistakes, usually, isn't it? Yeah, the hard thing with looping is if you put something in and it doesn't sound good, they're going to listen to that for the next 7 minutes. So
It's going to follow you around.
Yeah, exactly. So trying to get things as tight as possible.
Yeah. In terms of rituals, we normally, I think, we plan things very carefully and we practice quite a lot before a show.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we get to the show, we tend to go, oh, let's just make something up.
Yeah.
And then one or both of us will do that. And then the other one will be like, and then we'll just make something up and it'll be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just pulling the other out of the comfort zone.
Yeah.
Big eyes
Yeah.
looking at it like, what are you doing?
Yeah. We do that a lot, actually.
And then it generally works.
It generally works, yeah.
Yeah,
We
I
had
feel
a
like
few.
you've been doing for so long now, just pulling each other out, then you're just like, you know what? This is nothing for me as a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of our like favorite moments have come out that way too, because like the first live show that we ever did, I decided, let's be like whose line is it anyway, and let's just try to do something funny. And so I said to the audience, all right, I'm gonna say a sentence and you're gonna fill in the blank. And I said, every time I see your, and somebody went coconuts.
So that was our jam.
We made a song about every time I see your coconuts.
Nice, getting inspiration from everywhere.
Yeah. We thought about having like a wheel, like a wheel of genres that we could spin or throw a dart at, and then have like maybe like a hat full of little pieces of paper with different like words, and we could get audience members to pull them out. But we
I like
haven't.
the dartboard idea. I don't think you
Dartboard's
said
fun,
that to
right?
me.
Yeah.
Wow, this is really whose loop is it anyway?
Whose loop is it anyway? I love that.
Drew Carey.
We're going
right
to
here.
steal that, Phil.
Yup.
Go ahead. I was told that I look like Ryan Stiles in 20
Oh,
years.
you do a little bit.
That's
Yeah.
It's a huge shoes to fill in with the humor part, but
Mm.
You're a little too handsome, I would say. You're sorry, Ryan.
If you're
But
listening,
you do have a similar look, though. You do.
yeah,
it's nice
that's
to
true.
hear.
We can get you on the show. You can do this part of our live show where you come on and you introduce whose loop is it anyway?
That'd be great.
Where the points don't matter.
Yeah.
Nice. You mentioned first live performance. Can you dig in your memory and just kind of like bring me how was the feeling very first time performing live officially as a band?
I think that's probably still my favorite show we've ever played,
Me too.
because we were still kind of at the bottom of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, not knowing what was perfect, right?
Yeah.
So we were just trying to do whatever we could. I think people were thinking, what are these guys going to do with those two machines? Right? So I still think we had nobody had any expectations. We played that one at Vinyl Decision with shout out to Mark at Vinyl Decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it. I still think that was my favorite show.
Yeah. And our songs were only, a lot of them were only half developed at that point. So
That's where you finished them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
on the set.
we didn't though. We partially finished them during the set, but it was, it was very incomplete. But the vibe was right. The feeling was good. It was chill. We were sitting down as well. Ever since then, we stand up at our performances, right?
Yeah.
But maybe for this next week's performance, we should get on some stools and some tables and just kind of, I don't know, something about the environment and the feeling of like sitting down and doing the music was very
Being on
chill.
the same level as people is good, isn't it? I like that.
Yeah.
You can bring it up, start off slow, and then when it's time to hype it up, everybody's stand up, following your lead.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
That's
It's a great
nice.
idea, actually.
It's really inspiring how you say it, because a lot of times, the first show might be nerve-wracking, kind of like, are we prepared enough? And you're just like, no, we're not, but we're going to go there and just
Yeah.
do it.
Yes.
And you had fun. You're satisfied with the performance. That's all that matters. That's anybody who's listening, including me, should be like, yeah, this is how you do it. There's no 100% readiness. You just go out there, and it's
Enjoy
still
it.
the most memorable show. That's
Yeah.
wow.
Maybe that's just how you do life, right? I think the more you can let go of expectations, the more you can be open to new experiences happening. Yeah.
And that's all we have for today's episode. But please remember to come back next week when we're going to have more fun and learn more about the inspiration and work of the Church of Loops. And with the remaining time, let's sit back and enjoy their track called I Will Wait.
nothing that we see or hear is ever quite what it seems. Sometimes I am lost in a field of thoughts. Sometimes I come closer, closer than you're gone. So I'll keep moving on. And I will wait for you here. All that I need is the air that you breathe. You're far, but I feel that you are next to me. For all of the times that I let you down, and now I'm not around. And I will wait for you here. I will wait for you, I will wait for you. I will wait for you, I will wait for you. I will wait for you, I will wait for you. I will wait for you, I will wait for you. Sometimes I look across the sky so hard to cross, and I am reminded of when I was just a boy, and you sang to me songs so